Hi, I'm Shannon Miller with the Miller Elder Law Firm. And we're going to talk a little bit about special needs planning and see what I can do in my limited amount of time with preparing you either for an initial call to talk about special needs planning and also just to give like a basic overview. And I've often said that sometimes you go to these initial calls and your head is about to explode afterwards. So this may be a little recap for some of you if you've already had that initial call with one of the attorneys at our office. So if you have a loved one who has special needs, or if you're concerned that they may become qualified for some sort of benefits, either through Social Security or through like if they need long-term care, so they might need Medicaid, or they're qualified for what's called the Med Waiver program if they are developmentally disabled, or if there's a whole bunch of different types of Medicaid programs that exist in the state of Florida that they might be qualified for. You may want to consider not leaving them assets in your will, and that's what we call special needs planning. There are other reasons that we might establish a special needs trust or do special needs planning for loved ones before we die. So we might also want to help a loved one who is qualified for disability benefits through Social Security. And so there's a couple things we can do, one of which is really simple, and it's called the ABLE account. The ABLE account is a way to give money to someone while not disqualifying them from receiving benefits, and you can do it up to $15,000 a year right now. That may change, and that ABLE account can have up to $100,000 in it. ABLE account is relatively new. I encourage people to go to the ableunited.com website to look at the videos that they have there that kind of explain the details of those accounts. They're great. They fill a gap that we haven't had before. And you know, a lot of times we know that if someone is developmentally disabled or is on the spectrum or is receiving benefits through the Med Waiver program, getting on the Med Waiver sometimes can take years. So the idea that your assets might disqualify them from receiving benefits, it's not just that they would be disqualified from receiving benefits, it's also that they might have to get back in line on a wait list, and that can take really, like right now, it's like 2 to 2.5 years to come off that wait list. So we want to be very careful when we leave assets to someone who is qualified for benefits or who might be qualified for benefits in the future. The other type of special needs planning is really in consideration of leaving a gift when you die. And so those types of trusts are called third-party special needs trusts. And we can usually put them right inside a will or inside a trust instrument. And that type of trust will spring to life upon your death. Basically those types of trusts you're not limited as far as how much money you can put into them. And the nice thing about those types of trusts is that when your loved one dies, that trust will end, and what's left in that trust can be passed to somebody else. So I often tell people, like, it's great because that person can use it while they're living, but then you can leave it to other grandchildren when you die. I mean, when the beneficiary dies. And so it's a really nice tool for them to have the benefit of assets if they need them, but that it doesn't have to go back to like Medicaid. So let's say, for example, you are a person with special needs yourself, and you need help because you get disability benefits and you don't have, you want to make sure that you stay qualified for those benefits because they're very important to you. But you were in a car accident and now you're receiving $100,000 as a result of that accident. So what can you do? Well, there's two really good things that you can do. One is to use something called a pooled trust. We have several different pooled trusts in Florida. I have my favorite that I like to use because, it's like I know the people that run it and we've worked with them for many years and they're really good. But there are certainly a number of different types of pooled trusts that exist in Florida. And what they do is they basically put all the assets together, and it's significant enough that you get a good return on the investments. And then when the person dies, so if you died, those assets are retained by that pooled trust, which is always a nonprofit, and it's used for other people with beneficiaries. Other people with special needs. So it's great. I love it. I love pooled trusts. The other type of trust that could be set up for you, if you're the recipient, is something called a self-settled special needs trust. So you could take that $100,000 from that car accident case and put it into a trust for your own benefit. You can actually sign that trust yourself. You can sign the pooled trust also. And then you can use those assets during your lifetime for your special needs. You would have to have another person serve as trustee, and sometimes we can help you with that by letting somebody like a professional guardian or some other like service who can help you with that to make sure that you do proper accounting and keeping records properly. But then when you die, whatever's left in that trust would go back to Medicaid, and that's called a self-settled special needs trust. So just to recap, we've talked about a third-party special needs trust that might be in a trust or will, and that's a testamentary third-party trust. We've talked about a self-settled special needs trust that, where I'm getting money for myself and I can put that money into a trust for my benefit, but then I'd have to pay that money back to Medicaid. And then we've talked about a pooled trust where I'm in that car accident, I have money, but I can put it in that pooled trust and it can be used for my benefit. And then when I die, they get to keep it. They may have to pay a lien back to Medicaid as well. So, there's some real options for people with disabilities. One thing about the third-party special needs trust that's created as a result of an estate plan, you can just make it like right now. Like if I said, I want to benefit my nephew who has special needs, and I want to put that money in, but it's over the amount that I could put into an ABLE account, you can still do a standalone third-party special needs trust as well. So we've got a whole bunch of options in dealing with special needs planning. One important thing that I like to talk to people about usually, and I'm sure I talked to you about this during the call, is to know what kind of benefits our person is receiving. If they are receiving Social Security, that might be SSI, which is asset and income dependent. So if I was receiving SSI, I probably would be getting around $783 a month right now in 2021. So if I'm getting SSI benefits, then I can't have other assets. Like I can't have over $2,000 in assets. I can't have, a bunch of real property aside from homestead. But so if I'm getting SSI, then I might need one of these trusts that we're talking about. If, however, I'm getting what's called SSDI, and it's usually going to be more than that $783, then I may not need a special needs trust. I may have worked for 10 years and paid into the system, and the money that I'm getting because I'm disabled is a result of me putting money into the system. It's like insurance. Now I'm getting money out because I'm disabled. So it's important to know, like, what is the difference? What kind of beneficiary am I? Am I a SSI beneficiary or am I an SSDI beneficiary? And then there's a whole bunch of nuances that go on with each of those with regard to Medicare and Medicaid. So it is important to make that distinction, and we'll help you figure that out. If you usually send us your benefits, form from Social Security, it's not that hard to figure out the difference between the two. We can usually do that for you. And there's some language that they use that's not very clear, so I'm sorry, but we can help you with that. So those are some options for special needs planning, and I see my time is short, so I'm going to wrap it up. And thank you for listening. I'm Shannon Miller with the Miller Elder Law Firm.